Hey,
Hey,
hey, hey.
hey. Back in the building, Uncomfy Truths, episode 28. I'm your co-host, Conservative Brother Daily, here with Conspiracy Brother. How you doing, good sir?
Not too bad, man. How about yourself?
Same old, man. Just trying to keep sane in a growing, insane world. Uh, my slogans are coming to life more than I would like to have hoped. Um, it's been a crazy month, man. July 2024. I think our last stream, if I check my notes here, was on June 30th. So just post Biden Trump debate on CNN. And it's been almost a whole month, man. And a lot has happened. What I think I do like about this show is that, we all got day jobs and family and things like that. So we don't have time to be doing a show every day, doing a play by play. It's cool to kind of let things sit back and breathe. But it's been a book for the it's been a historic month for the history books. I mean, from the Trump assassination, like within a week span, you had the attempted assassination of a former president. I know there's some weird things about it we can discuss and debate. And then a week later, you have the resignation of the current president. So either way it goes, however how you feel about it, a lot has happened this past month. I'm sure you and you can agree on that. Been a crazy month, my guy.
Oh, yeah,
You would
definitely.
have
It's
thought.
been, like you said, it's been historic to say the least.
The July surprise is the new October surprise. So real quick, if you could give me I could you could share my screen. I'll give a quick plug to everybody, guys. Once again, we're Comfy Truths, Politics Talk. We're trying to get a little better at self promotion. So we're gonna have a little crawl going on the screen with how you can contribute to us to keep this show going. This is our YouTube channel. We're currently streaming bi-weekly on Sundays. May depend, maybe a Friday, Saturday here and there, but right now Sundays is our best day. Follow us at Uncomfy Truths Politics Talk on YouTube. We also have a Rumble because YouTube can be pretty establishment, far left wing. Anything they don't like you speaking about, they may shadow ban you or throttle your service. So we also got a Rumble as a backup that we'll be streaming live on there as well. And then we also on Odyssey. So feel free to check us out on Odyssey. We're streaming simultaneously, simulcasting off of Odyssey and Rumble and YouTube. So yeah, let's go ahead and just dive right in, my guy. And you guys talked about this. I know there's a lot to talk about on the Freedman Collective, Detroit. Definitely got to pop into one of those shows. But yeah, biggest news right now. We're gonna get to the assassination attempt probably next. But it's the Kamala Harris race, man. Apparently, she raised about $100 million within the past week from different constituents and donors coming together. Apparently, the Biden delegates are able to get transferred to her. So a lot of news, a lot of shake upness going on. So I feel like AP News, they lean more left these days. Let's go ahead and give them a read. So I'll kick it off and read this first one to kind of bring everybody up to speed. I think this is just from see how quick they got those Kamala signs together, man. The switch up is still killing me. Just how quick they done switched up, you know. We're all in for Joe. And then just they had the Kamala signs printed before he announced it. But I think this AP News article was like, let's see here. Sorry, it went back a little too far. This AP article was like, yeah, I don't know where it went. Yeah, let's just go with Reuters. Reuters, AP, damn near same thing. Kamala Harris campaign raises $200 million in a week. Almost kind of like they were planning for this to happen. From Kanishka Singh. This came out today, just about 2 hour ago. All right, Kamala Harris election campaign said on Sunday it has raised $200 million and signed up 170 million new volunteers in the week since she became the Democratic Party's presidential candidate, as Republicans continue to hammer Harris over her work as vice president. President Joe Biden ended his re-election bid on Sunday last week and endorsed Harris for the November 5th vote against Republican former President Donald Trump. They just had it all ready to go, almost like they planned it. In the week since we got started, Kamala Harris has raised $200 million. 66% of that is from new donors. We signed up 170 million new volunteers. Harris deputy campaign manager Rob Flattery posted on X polls over the past week, including one by Reuters, shows Reuters / Ipsos shows Harris and Trump essentially tied, setting the stage for a close-fought campaign over the 100 days left until the election. Trump-Harris said in early July that it raised $331 million in the second quarter, topping the $264 million that Biden's campaign and the Democrat allies raised in the same period. Trump's campaign had $284 million in cash on hand at the end of June, while the Democratic campaign had $240 million on hand. Harris has secured support from a majority of delegates, which I had mentioned, to the DNC, likely ensuring she will become the party's nominee for president next month. So our vice president is our presumptive nominee. Look at that face. It's a face only a globalist can love. We will have the official vote on August 1st. Democratic National Committee Chair Jamie Harrison told MSNBC on Sunday. Biden withdrew from the race amid questions about his age and health following a faltering debate performance against Trump in late June. Kind of like they almost wanted it to happen, and they switched up tune right after the debate. The media turned on. Biden
Did I ever?
Yeah. What?
Did I ever play that Sharp's attack video from Matt Orfalea?
I don't believe so. Send it to me in the chat. I can pull it up.
Because within 30 days, they were saying that Joe Biden was sharp as a tack.
Right.
30 days of the debate, they were saying the man was sharp as a tack. And he looked so bad on the actual debate stage that they forced him to step down from president. You know what I'm saying? That's a significant thing. You know, that is a significant thing that cannot be understated or should not be understated. Because this is the first time that an incumbent has not sought re-election since Lyndon Baines Johnson. And that should have been in 1968. So you haven't had this happen. No.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, a lot we got to break down. Let me finish this article. We can chop it up. But yeah, this is unprecedented on so many levels. Biden pledged to remain in office as president until his term ends on January 20th, 2025. Harris' takeover has re-energized a campaign that has faltered badly amid Democrats' doubts about Biden's chances of defeating Trump or his ability to continue to govern had he won. Polls showed that Trump had built a lead over Biden in battleground states after Biden's disastrous debate performance. But Harris' entry to the race has changed the dynamic. A New York Times /Siena College national poll published Thursday found Harris has narrowed what had been a sizable Trump lead, while Trump had a 2% lead over her in a Wall Street Journal poll published Friday. Reuters Ipsos poll published on July 23rd. July 23rd showed a 2-point lead for Harris. Republican attacks on Harris, the first woman in black and South, she's not black, South Asian person to serve as U.S. vice president, have intensified in days since she became the Democrats' likely presidential nominee. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who vied unsuccessfully for the Republican nomination before endorsing Trump, told Fox News that Harris was incredibly vapid and predicted Democrats would issue a blizzard of lies to distance Harris from the Biden's administration's policy on immigration and other issues. They have to whitewash Harris's background to be able to make her palatable to the American people, he said. Some Trump allies, including some members of the Black Americans for Trump coalition, warned that disparaging Harris could further the former president in his outreach to black voters. A crucial demographic to the November 5th presidential election. Okay, so he can't say anything about it. They feed into the identity politics. Harris's campaign had no immediate response to the DeSantis comments. Mitch Landrieu, a campaign co-chair, told MSNBC that Harris had one of the best weeks that we've seen in politics in the last 50 years. This is going to be a very close race, he said. Trump's fundraising surged when he was convicted in late May on felony charges related to a hush money payment to a porn star ahead of the 2016. An assassination attempt against him this month was also expected to spur campaign contributions. All right, conspiracy brother, I will punt the ball off to you first. What do you have here on our latest Sleepy Joe win, Kamala Harris up the bat? Kamala in, Sleepy Joe out, and this new shakeup of the 2024 election.
This was what I assumed was their plan all along.
Mm-hmm.
So what I thought they were going to end up doing, I didn't think they would let him finish the full term.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that they were going to get him maybe 2 to 3 years in, have her replace him, because then she could still run for 2 more terms, and then kind of let that be how it went. But this is equally dastardly because 70-some% of Democratic voters wanted an open primary, and the DNC would not allow it because, they wanted you to believe that they had all this confidence that Joe Biden wasn't, mashed potato brains this whole time, which, I was calling him that in 2019.
Right.
But, that's what they would have you believe, that he wasn't a mashed potato brain. And so they drug him across the finish line. I posted the link to that video.
Okay.
That was a compilation from Matt Orfalin. But they were telling you he was sharp as a tack. And the guy, he couldn't remember people who were dead. He couldn't remember, his wife's name, his sister's name. Like, just weird stuff. That he was having a hard time walking up the stairs. He was having a hard time remembering that there was going to be no one to greet him. So he didn't need to try to shake hands with anybody because there would be nobody around. When he was reading the teleprompter, he would literally read even the cues, the direction cues. So, he's been a problem for a while. But what this does, because Kamala Harris was the largest donor or the largest recipient of money from Hillary Clinton early in the campaign last election, it allows them to get the puppet that they want without having to actually convince the American people that she's a good choice. And the majority of voters are so brain dead, especially apparently Black females who are in lockstep with this woman. Not all.
A lot of
not
them.
all.
Yeah, not all.
A lot of them. simply because they believe or they have been convinced or somebody has told them that she is a black woman. And, um, you know, what it goes to show you, at least in my opinion, you guys know that I'm, um, how I feel about liberation and stuff. That this is no different than Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton, I didn't vote for her. I didn't vote for Obama. I did, I just, even in 2008, I did.
You literally got a Reba Martin. You literally had a Reba Martin posing with Kamala maybe a week before Biden dropped, going like, I'm with her. Or I think, no, right when Biden dropped. Like a day later, Reba Martin, I'm with her, next to Kamala. Don't tell me that wasn't pre-planned. But yeah, continue. Spiritual brother.
Well, so the thing about Hillary Clinton, what I realized, because they, feminists try to portray female leadership as inherently virtuous compared to male leadership. So, they say women have less wars. I think statistically, female leaders actually commit more wars or commit to waging war at a greater rate than men do. That they're more compassionate or caring or, level-headed or whatever. And what actually happens when you look at Hillary Clinton, when you look at her record and her history, the votes that she's taken, the decisions that she's made, what you see is that for a lot of people, all they really want is the ability to participate in the oppression of other people, right? They don't want equality or freedom or justice or anything, right? They're not voting for Kamala Harris because they think she's the most qualified for the job. They're voting for her because she looks like a black person, like they are. And that makes them feel better that they'll have had someone in the White House who looked like them. And it's weird. Like, we don't do a lot of like gender conversations on this show. I think, there's a lot of that on YouTube. So I don't know that we ever feel the need to contribute to it. But like, when you think about the ways that males and females view their role in society, one thing I think you can kind of easily see is that women tend to think individually and men tend to think more communally. So like, when a man does something, he thinks about the impact that it will have on his family, on his neighborhood, on his community, on his group, right? Whereas women tend to look at things strictly based upon how it will benefit them specifically. And so with Kamala Harris, now you've already had a black president. It was Barack.
Right.
He did absolutely nothing to benefit Black Americans, to benefit working Americans, to benefit all Americans. He did nothing. What he did do benefited the military-industrial complex, the war machine, the globalists, and the LGBT. That's who, the rich, the wealthy. That's who Obama actually benefited while he was in office. And so for women, for Black women, who have taken the approach that she is a viable or reasonable candidate purely because she looks like them or somebody they know, completely disregarding our history with a Black presidential candidate already is, I keep almost saying retarded, and that's just the best word that I could use to sum the whole way of thinking up, that you would be willing to go through this process of abuse just because you have the potential to elect a person who kind of looks like some of y'all. You know, even after we've already had a black president who did nothing for you. You know, it's a weird situation. It's a weird empty-headedness that I think is bred by a lot of these elites. They would have you believe, you know, that like Joy Reid, she's talking about to black people, you're going to look weird if you don't vote for her. Amber Rose, sorry, should look weird by herself and she should be separate and whatever. And it's a very paternalistic way. You know, they always like to talk about the patriarchy. Right. These, you know, feminist women like to talk about the patriarchy. But it is a very paternalistic way of thinking to tell black people that if they don't support a certain candidate, they'll look weird and they're not for the culture. Especially when the individual who's saying these things is not a black American who descends from chattel slavery in America. Joy Reid is like, I've heard that she's like Congolese and like got family from like Guyana or something like that. So like you don't even have a connection to black culture, right? You have merely gleaned things from people you grew up with. You have no more connection to American black people than a white person. The only thing that makes you almost similar is that you are also melanated. Otherwise, you would be completely separate entity from American black people. Yet you have the audacity to say that if I don't support Kamala Harris, who made it a point to arrest black people and to leave them in prison and do all manner of evil to poor and black people in California, you know, that if I don't vote for her, I am weird. If I don't vote for this woman, I am weird. So,
wow. Man, conspiracy brother, I don't think you can put it together any better than that. We've warned about this. This has been kind of years coming, and like you mentioned, they've been planning this for a while, and we all had the same idea, like going back to 2019. She's running for you know, president 2020. She couldn't even get a single delegate. I think there was a percentage they put up, like 4 or 5% of the black people identified with her, and it's once again one. It was 1%.
You got less black 1%. Support than Elizabeth Warren, and Elizabeth Warren
is a fake Indian.
And just to put it in context, not only is she a fake Indian, but when she actually got the DNA test taken, it determined that she had less Native American blood than the average white person in America. Mm-hmm. That is how fake of an Indian she is. Yeah. She's so fake of an Indian that she has less Indian DNA or blood or genetic whatever than the average white person in America.
Well, this is where we are with identity politics, and the Democrats are really smart. And this is kind of where, like I said before, there is a balance between having legitimate black pride for yourself as a people and racial idolatry. And what the Democrats have done with twisting racial idolatry and identity politics is where you end up being a pawn or lapdog for the white liberal agenda. Because if you really had black pride in your people, you'd be more concerned about being involved locally, doing things in your community, and not jumping on the train of the very first politician that looks just like you, talks just like you, but ain't built for you, and they come with all types of shadow money and other constituents they're committed to, but not you. So, and I appreciate. I know we talked through the group chat where I kind of called about. There's still whisperings about Michelle Obama possibly having a role. I think at this point with Kamala, they're locked into her. Like, you know, like we said, we had a big fundraising week. I'm not counting out Michelle for 2028, or even maybe taking some sort of cabinet role to finesse her into a potential 2028 run. You know, if Kamala can't even do her first term, she gets elected. So this is the danger of where we're at, where we let a generation, or, you know, a lot of black people, not all black people, but a good majority of black people who've gotten brainwashed with MSNBC, CNN on racial idolatry, on no matter what, whoever their qualifications is, if they get criticized because those Republicans over there are racist and they just trying to do that because she black, versus if you have real black pride and real sort of understanding of history and how all skin folk and kinfolk, you don't get blinded by the identity politics, zombie brain mentality of what we're now in. Now, I'm gonna say once again, Kamala Harris, I mean, we could run through her whole history and how bad she is. I don't know if this is that type of show. I think everybody is aware of how bad she is, but just for perspective, her main two jobs, she only got two jobs really as vice president. The vice president, as we all know, is barely a job. She had two main things as vice president. Biden appointed her as a border czar. And look at this open border immigration situation we got going on now. So she failed epically at that. Obviously, she didn't have as much power, but she couldn't pretend like she could do her job there. And then the second part of her job was she was appointed over Ukraine. And then she gets sent over to the Munich conference. I think less than 2 months later, Putin invades Ukraine. You know, and obviously he sensed weakness in the Biden administration as a whole, and seeing Kamala up there is a full joke. And then, if you remember, conspiracy brother, the Ukraine invasion comes 6 months, just 6 months after the botched Afghanistan withdrawal. So Putin's already sitting back in his chair like, all right, Biden, that first big goof off, he screwed that up. 13 U.S. servicemen killed, a complete disaster of an Afghanistan withdrawal. And then he puts this diversity hire to oversee Ukraine. And, you know, I don't even blame Putin. Like, Putin had every advantage to go ahead and invade Ukraine based off of that track record. You know, this is a lady who, you know, we go over her whole incarceration record. We get all that. This lady literally slept her way to the top. You know, girlfriend running the streets for Willie Brown, Montel Williams. Somebody tried to bring up a point about, well, even though she locked up the black men, she kept them over their prison sentence. She wasn't in charge of the legislation. You know, she had to just carry it out. That was her job. She had no control over that legislation. She had to carry it out. Well, this goes back to morals. This goes back to where you stand on. There's no reason why she couldn't, if she had any sort of morals and not just looking out for number one, why not take a different job? Why not decide, hey, you know what, these new laws we're doing where we're trying to lock up parents because their kids missed a few days of school, or, you know, different men who are set to be released, they're now serving their sentences longer in order to provide labor. That isn't right with my spirit. So I'm going to take a different position. She could have done that. All right.
Well, see, and since you bring that up, I was watching this. My wife was on Instagram, and it was a video. This white dude was saying, you know, she got some kind of, he seemed gay. And they was saying that Kamala Harris got some kind of special relationship with the gay community because she's from San Francisco and she's always fought for gay people. And so, like, he talked about how there was a transgender inmate who was trying to petition the state to give him a surgery to turn him into a female. And publicly, Kamala Harris fought against that because that was either something that the state didn't do or something like that. But he said, but privately, she went behind closed doors to tell the prison warden or whoever that they should give him a sex change. And so that's the thing. She is perfectly fine to publicly argue for a position in the name of the state or the district in one instance, but then behind closed doors, do what she thinks is perfectly okay and morally right. But when it comes to black people or poor people or prisoners, no such deal. She argued that a man should be given the death penalty. And this man was innocent. She didn't want him to get released from death row. He was innocent. They had DNA evidence to prove his innocence. And she said she doesn't personally believe in the death penalty, but the law required her to pursue it. But it didn't require backdoor conversations about this. You're going to have an innocent man killed knowingly because you claim he didn't file his paperwork for release in enough time or whatever.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Do you watch Futurama?
I used to. I know the show gets canceled, comes back every few years, but yeah, great show.
Yeah.
Good show.
So you remember the episode with Zaxar Travis? He was the guy from the future who ran for president and beat Richard Nixon, and he was like a great politician. It was kind of supposed to be like an analog to Obama.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the name of the episode.
I didn't catch that episode, but yeah, continue.
But so Bender was hired by Nixon to find dirt on Travis.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Bender doesn't care. He's amoral. So
Bender
was paying him more.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening? What ended up happening was Bender went and found Zaxar's birth certificate. Because I can't remember his first name. But his middle name was Zaxar.
Oh, Zaxar.
No, Travis, the politician guy.
Okay.
And I'll keep wanting to say Chris, but let me see. I'm gonna look up.
Oh yeah, can you put up the show, the regular show banner? Switch that in real quick.
Oh yeah.
Too. And once again, guys, while Conspiracy Brothers pulling it up, you're watching Uncomfortable Truths.
So his name is Chris Zaxar Travers.
Okay.
So that was his name, Chris. I was right. How about that?
All right.
So anyway, so his middle name is Zaxar. That's an alien name. So Bender found it out and he was like, hey, you know, you were born in some hospital. Your birth certificate, like, it's just from yesterday or whatever. You were just born. How are you here? You're an alien. You can't qualify to run for president because you're not from Earth. You're an alien. And he was like, no, I got that. My mother named me after one of the nurses who delivered me or whatever. But yes, I was born yesterday because I'm from the future. And they sent me back in time to defeat Richard Nixon because he was so evil. He ruined the future or whatever.
Right.
So anyway, he's like a perfect candidate, right? Because he was trained just to be the president. Like that was what his training was in the future. Then he went back to the past. And I was telling my wife that this is kind of what they've done with Kamala, because what they have tried to do is to make her a perfect candidate. It's almost like she's made in a lab, and or like she's an AI and she's or like a cyborg or whatever. Yeah. And she's an uncanny valley. So because she's got that uncanny valley problem, she can't connect with voters, right? You have some people who will accept her and do whatever because they're they're brainless. You know what I'm saying? They're completely brain dead individuals. They can't think for themselves. They don't do anything unless the group tells them to, or unless whoever they have as their predetermined, pre-acceptable source of information and direction okays it. They just follow orders. But like when you look at a lot of black people, just in general, and I'm not saying we have some kind of innate sixth sense about people, but we don't tend to get caught up in a lot of the same things as the majority group.
Mm-hmm.
So like, okay, you black, who cares? Like, and I'm talking about just regular, not Joy Reid and Angela Rise and Crying Van Jones, but I mean just regular everyday people who work jobs. Yeah. We don't get caught up in all that. And so she cannot connect to black people because she's fake. She's a phony. Nothing about her is sincere or real. So she's not able to garner any support. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, she's like a bad AI because, you know, I'll send you the other video if you want to see it, where she's saying, you know, free from what is to be unburdened by what can be or something. And she says that all the time. And I told my wife, I said, it's almost like this is some kind of incantation. I would not be surprised if she's putting a spell on us, because she just repeats the same thing over and over and over and over again. And it doesn't make sense. It makes absolutely no sense that she would repeat these phrases. Like, it's like she doesn't understand that social media exists and that everybody has a camera. And so you can't just say the same things over and over again and expect to get the same type of support. I listened to a video today where when she gave her speech in Milwaukee, her campaign announcement speech, she just repeated a speech that she gave at her campaign headquarters like the previous day. I mean, almost word for word. And it's like, you know, how can a person have a campaign where they are completely just like, even I got a couple videos I'm gonna send you. There's one, the Daily Show even made fun of her in 2020 because they said that she was acting like Veep.
Yep.
She was repeating stuff and not making any sense. Like, you know how when you were in school and you had a report to do, or like you had to give an answer on a question, and it had to be essay form or short answer, and it said, how do you XYZ? And you didn't really know the answer, so you just kind of BS'd and made stuff up, hoping that it would sound good. That's how she talks. When she gives speeches like she did not know she was supposed to speak today. And she's making up her speech on the fly. And, you know, it's just
sad.
Well, yeah, it's sad, but it's weird, you know, because I feel like I'm in some kind of simulation, because you look at how apparently the rest of the world is responding. And it's like, is it just a handful of real people out here? You know, am I really in some kind of simulation that other people are not aware of, or they're not real? Because it's strange. It's totally strange. I played the one video. I sent you the one video.
You want me to play that one? Or, I mean, that was just a Biden.
Play that first one I sent. Play that first. Well, you can play the Biden one if you want, or you can play the Kamala Harris one, because
I mean I've seen the Biden one, but let's go ahead and okay.
That first one.
Let's play the Kamala one since we're on Kamala right now. We already know everything about, Sleepy Joe. I've seen all the clips, see what this one is. Let me know if you can't hear it. I might have to unplug my headphones. They're gonna do a side by side.
Yeah.
Oh man, yep.
I can't hear it though.
I'm surprised.
Oh no, I hear it.
I'm surprised they did this a year ago. Because usually Kamala's just untouchable. I mean, you're not supposed to talk about it. I'm shocked the Daily Show went there.
I can't hear it. Let's see.
Wait, hold on a second. All right. Can you hear that?
Nope.
All right, let me take my headphones out. All right.
My fellow Americans, words have many meanings, and sometimes instead of...
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay, here we go.
They can suggest other meanings.
When we talk about the children of the community,
Well, we are the United States of America because we are united. We are states.
Talking about the significance of the passage of time. Significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time.
Whatever we have in store cannot be known. What's the future? The future is, I should say,
We got to take this stuff seriously as you are, because you have been forced to have to take it seriously.
obesity is a serious disease and it needs to be taken seriously.
You need to get to go to do the work.
That's the issue. And this can be the last word on those words.
Certain issues are just settled. Clearly, we're not. No, that's right, and that's why I do believe that we are living, sadly, in real unsettled times.
You know, and it would be funnier if this woman wasn't about to be the president. And I'm not saying like she's about to win. I'm just saying, I'm trying to be considerate and say that anybody can be president. But if it weren't for the fact that she has the potential to be the next president, this would be hilarious.
Mm-hmm. But this is going to be a scary reality.
Right.
And
I mean, people keep saying, like, how is she going to stand up to Putin or Kim Jong-un or whatever? But I mean, honestly, who takes her seriously in real life?
It's the Yas Queens. It's the Black Girl Magic, who, once again, like I said, that racial idolatry binds you to, like, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. So they want, once again, this woman looks like me. Well, meantime, she got a Jamaican father, Indian mother, grew up in Canada, whole family owned slaves. How is that someone who looks, I am heard and seen and celebrated? She's not for us. Not for us or by us. I just don't get it. I can't believe Black people, we keep falling for this again. Over and over.
Yeah.
Can we wake up? Can we mature past this? This shit is sad.
You would have thought that we would have taken at least more control of our own lives and vote. And it's weird. It's weird.
And it's funny, like I've been following the guy you put me on, Anton Daniels, another Detroit, not political commentator, but obviously a content creator. But speaking facts, he did that whole video about the AKAs, and once again, the fact that she's looks Black enough, but there's a lot of people out there in that Divine Nine, that sort of crowd, just because she went to Howard. Just because she's an AKA, she's on the team, we got to get behind her. no matter what, shut up and vote Democrat. So I think his video was a good angle that a lot of people aren't talking about on just how the very tribal mentality Black people have. We can't put that toward like group economics or things that actually matter. We're tribal toward the symbolism, toward the flattery, toward the materialistic culture, and toward just jumping on stuff, the symbolic flattery of a Black woman who's in a position that she really has no control over, and it's not her agenda to dictate. So I think he did a great job on breaking that down on how a lot of these, like you mentioned, we had that discussion in the group chat. Not all, I'm not saying all, but a lot of the Divine Nine, a lot of Black people that kind of use that. They want to go up that route for social mobility, and this is just more proof of it. They want to be on Kamala's team. They want to get that next book deal or get in their local office. So it's more so the interests of themselves and their immediate family, their circle, at the expense of the greater community, because they want to get theirs and come up. And they see Kamala Harris, an AKA, as the ticket in. Well, she's an AKA. She became president. I can go that route too. This is a playbook. She put out that book, I think 2019 or 2020. It was either right before she lost the 2020. She dropped out of the 2020 Democratic election, or right after. She put out that book, The Truths We Hold. All right. So there's this ongoing playbook where you get elected to an office, get a book deal, you use that as a marketing tool, and maybe after that you get maybe some sort of media deal, but there's always the book tool. Now I kind of bring this up as a larger aspect of sometimes we need to look at people that have things to lose, that have things that are built already, to where they're not going into politics to enrich themselves, make a name for themselves, write a book. These are maybe people who are self-made business owners. They're not like oligarch billionaires, obviously, but they have something significantly to lose by going into office. They're not just trying to write a book. They're not trying to get in the right rooms, in the right circles. And what you see with Kamala is just another example of doing the same playbook, getting in the right local position, writing a book, doing what you got to do. And you have nothing to lose. You have everything to gain because you have no morals, nothing to stand on. So you'll take the money here. You'll do this there because you want to get the book deal, the power, and the political recognition. You don't have anything to lose. We need to look more at people who are more self-made, more grounded, and have stuff to lose, which is why they're running. They're not looking for everything to gain and to get their hand in the cookie jar, if you will. So I wanted to kind of just reiterate that on a lot of the people, whether they're Black or white, that support politicians mindlessly and don't look at what is this politician looking to gain, where they making $50K 1 year, 10 years later, they're multimillionaires with a book deal. So I wanted to just reiterate that that's another component that Black folks, especially a lot of the Black women out there, all for Kamala, they're not thinking about that. What is she gaining over your ignorance versus if she had something built for her own, what she's losing if she was going into politics to actually change something. So I wanted to reiterate that point. I don't think that's talked about enough. But Conspiracy Brother, floor is yours. I mean, how much more Kamala bashing we want to do? Think Conspiracy Brother. I can't hear you right now, buddy. All right, we're going to hop over to the next topic. Conspiracy Brother, I can't hear you right now, but we'll continue some Kamala.
What happened?
Oh, okay, you're back now.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, but okay, my bad. I thought anyways. Okay, I can hear you now.
Yeah, I just have my mic muted so that if my fan is loud. But
okay.
I mean, yeah, it's I don't know. I feel like we can't continue to be this selfish as a group of people. I just mean people. I don't necessarily mean black or female or whatever, but it's just, you know, it's sad and it's stupid. I mean, I wouldn't vote for this woman for nothing at all. I wouldn't vote for her. I wouldn't vote for her at all. You know.
Yeah.
I just would.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
well,
vote for her if she was the last. If I had a gun to my head, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah. And once again, like we just reiterate, you know, we're gonna wrap up on Kamala soon. I know we're about to hit the first of the hour, but and I said this before. There's plenty of other qualified black women. They aren't DEI hires. They're old guard establishment. Hella, you know, they are old guard establishment. The Susan Rices, the Barbara Lees, even though Barbara Lee, she voted on this HR bill to downgrade Trump's security detail. We don't get into that. But I would vote for the two of them in a minute over Kamala. It ain't a black women issue. It ain't no misogynistic issue. It's just her history. And seeing that black folks are falling for this playbook over and over again is really what's killing our spirit. So I think we can kind of move on to the next topic. This is going to make us a little more like, it's going to piss me off some more. But all right, next, y'all, Trump assassination attempt. We got to talk about this. Like I mentioned at the start of the show, July 2024. July surprise is the new October surprise. That's my stance. Basically, you know, see new details we got. Basically, I forgot the lady's name. Head over at Secret Service. She's pretty much getting grilled. You know, there's a talk about her stepping down or, you know, things like that. But we've seen this over and over again, this Biden administration. I'm sorry, but they don't take any level of accountability. There was no resignation from the Afghanistan withdrawal. 13 service members killed. Botched, just the horribleness of it. No one held accountable from Biden administration. Nobody fired. Next, we got Ukraine, invasion of Ukraine. Kamala's still the border, the little tip, the placeholder borders are, and Ukraine's are, yet Putin's continue to kill hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians. Russia's in the bag to win the war. No accountability from the Biden administration. Media still barely acknowledges that Ukraine lost, but no, just keep giving Zelensky money. So we see this reoccurring theme, conspiracy brother, of Democrats failing up. Pete Buttigieg, horrible Department of Transportation guy. The guy doesn't know how to run his department to save his life. The guy fucking can't even go to visit East Palestine till maybe 2-3 weeks later, or after Trump announces he's going. You got the dude who was the bald guy, little cone head, who was the Department of Energy. Like, she was still in the bags. She was still in the airplane bags.
Yeah,
Cone
yeah. It was a guy. It was like a cross dresser.
Yeah, cone head guy who was stealing women's airport bags. No accountability. Because Karine Jean-Pierre, you know, probably one of the worst press secretaries we have. Just jumping around. Like, it's one thing with at least Jen Psaki, she knew how to make she was at least slick with her lies. Karine Jean-Pierre just won't even answer the question, or just pivots and answers a different question nobody asks. So there's already been this history in the Biden administration over 4 years of just no accountability, gaslighting. Hey, that's not what happened, whatever. So what makes us think the Secret Service is any different? So these are some good facts. These are some interesting fun facts on the Trump assassination attempt. People can still argue, oh, it was staged. Well, it's hard to stage something where The man behind Trump was shot and killed. 2 others in the crowd were killed. Yeah, you could maybe say, well, U.S. government had an inside role on 9/11 where thousands of people were killed. I do admit the U.S. had a role in 9/11, but I don't think Trump is going to set himself up where he's already leading the polls to kill people in order to get a great mugshot. I mean, a great photo op. I don't think that's the deal. Until we get more evidence coming in. Doug Mills from the New York Times literally has a picture of the bullet flying midair towards Trump. And it turns out they couldn't find the glass that was apparently broken, shattered off the teleprompter. So as far as I'm concerned, until we get new evidence, I'm always open to conspiracies and new evidence. The whole Trump campaign tried to stage this, that's been debunked, at least for now. Other details of the Secret Service failures: we had no drone. Conspiracy brother, there were no drones in the air. There were no helicopter support. I think the shooter went to that site, the Butler rally site, 3 hours before the rally, and then I think the morning before or the earlier that morning as well. You had this female Secret Service agent couldn't even pull out her gun. A lot of that was due to, not to just throw out the DEI card, but if you go to their website, they had this whole DEI initiative. By 2030, we want to have half our agents female or persons of color. So that wasn't a good look. I'm not saying that was part of it, but it wasn't a good look. The shooter, the Trump assassination shooter, only turned 18 in 2021. The guy never voted in an election. On Biden inauguration day, he made a $15 donation to Act Blue organization. It's a Democrat left-leaning politician PAC. This was confirmed by the Federal Election Commission filing. So a lot of the left wings were like, "Oh, well, he was a registered Republican. Trump brought this on himself due to MAGA extremism." I'm like, no. I think there's a whole thing, conspiracy brother. You'll like this. Both of his parents were behavioral psychologists. And apparently there was the uncle of the shooter mentioned how he hasn't seen the parents and the shooter, the son, in years. So we don't know what sort of, in the whole history of MK Ultra, of CIA's role and things such as Charlie Manson murders. There's a whole history of these not these false flags necessarily, but of taking these mentally ill people, molding them through mind control, through drug cocktails, and basically triggering them to get the result they want, to be the fall guys. This dates all the way back to JFK. So, there was one whole building that wasn't covered. They were saying there was a sloped roof. The roof was too sloped. That's why we couldn't cover it. So there's a whole host of things, and I'll get into some more. The shooter was wearing this gun YouTuber merch shirt to kind of set it up like he was some far right extreme. So it was just a lot that was going on to where I don't think this came exactly from the Trump campaign, but I feel like there were other forces that were setting this up to happen. And yeah, I'm a Christian by the grace of God. Maybe God spared Trump for a reason. But conspiracy brother, I could go ahead and get your thoughts on the latest on this Trump assassination attempt.
Well, I haven't gotten the chance to look into the supposed second shooter on the water tower, but I heard that there was a second shooter on the water tower who escaped via a zip line and that they eventually caught him. I guess they also got a hold of some of the guy, Matt Crooks or whatever, Thomas Crooks, whatever his name is. Yeah. They got a hold of some of his online history. So they kind of got an idea of the kind of things he was saying, but I didn't look into that yet. I saw a couple of YouTubers made videos about it. But I think you have to be a special level of brain dead to believe that this was orchestrated by Trump. Because you cannot believe that a person would take the risk of setting up a shooting at themselves in a crowd of people. Somebody who is as heavily scrutinized and investigated as Trump, because you'd find that out. You'd find that out fairly quickly.
Right.
So, it's a level of delusion and craziness that I feel like people on the left, well, liberals specifically, don't want to admit that they share with whatever the belief they have about the right. They share it. That's why people call them blue MAGA, and I think it fits.
Blue Anon. Blue Anon.
Yeah, Blue Anon and blue MAGA, because there are, if you think QAnon is crazy or Pizzagate people are crazy, these individuals here are just as crazy. You're equally as crazy. And I personally think there is something to the Pizzagate situation. But,
yeah,
I think Donald Rumsfeld said the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. So, I think we need to be a little more diligent about that kind of thing. But I just, how would a person set that up? How would you know when to move? There's too many moving parts to believe that was orchestrated by the individual who was getting shot at.
And the Secret Service is gonna, when the Secret Service huddle on, they're putting like blood makeup on his ear. It's like,
yeah,
I gave leniency. I even posted in the group chat. Like, I was even kind of like at a healthy level. Let's always have a healthy level of skepticism. Don't believe what immediately comes out. Let it breathe. Wait till the details come out. So I would give like those never Trumper TDS liberals, I gave them maybe about 24, 72 hours of grace. Okay, let's look at it. Maybe staged. I was entertaining at least the staged conspiracy theory. Maybe 3-4 days at the most. But going on 2 weeks, you got Joy Reid of all people leading the charge. You got all these different random quote unquote influencers still in denial of what happened or trying to claim Trump had something to do with it. So like you said, it's a next level of stupid, And what's just most disturbing about this, what the Democrats that really have enough sense, and even the establishment Republicans should have enough sense to where we need a full investigation of this. It's not the FBI. So this BS article is about FBI just confirmed. We don't need the investigators investigating themselves. FBI, the DOJ, we're gonna look into this and no, we don't. We need third party, independent, bipartisan, or maybe a majority Republican oversight on this. Because it's crazy. You got the Secret Service director who, it's just like their playbook, the Biden administration playbook, just avoid questions. I don't need the answer to this. You got Marsha Blackburn confronting her at the RNC, and basically, I don't have to answer to you. So I don't know the latest update. Maybe what's the Secret Service director's name?
Her name was something Cheadle, Kim Cheadle or something.
Yeah, Kim Cheadle. Yes, I'll put in. Yeah. So I'm not saying everybody. There was just a matter of, all right. So she just resigned. Okay, so that's a start, I guess. But once again, these Democrats will fail up. Watch her end up in some sort of think tank or NGO or in the Kamala administration if she's reelected, if the Kamala's elected. So I think this is just maybe a small price to pay. She had to be the person to fall on the sword over this. But best believe, Democrats fail up and they do it really well. She'll be back in some capacity. Same way as you had Janet Yellen, who used to be in the U.S. Treasury, and then she walks over. Now she's in charge of the Fed. Maybe the other way around, I forgot. But you see this over and over again. Once again, no no shooters on a whole building. Left the whole building out. No helicopter support. No drone support. I feel like at the end of the day, it was a matter of, it was probably a little bit of partisan Trump derangement syndrome. She probably has TDS. A couple people at the top knew. A matter of the laxing of Trump's patrol. You got agents doing that for a long time. They get complacent. They get lax. But then you also got people, what we call the agent in charge, who, once again, they're putting resources elsewhere. I mean, you got Trump himself who advocated for RFK after his own assassination, for RFK to get the Secret Service support he needs. Yet, you have this apathetic, laxed Secret Service agency who's just as bureaucratic as the other alphabet agencies. They got this budget surplus, yet they'll pour a lot of their Secret Service funding. They'll protect the Bidens up, down all day, but they want to continue to skimp on Trump. They want to use that convicted felon label. And like I mentioned, I posted that in the group chat. You had Benny Johnson, Barbara Lee, Jasmine Crockett. They're all bringing up this HR bill just to remove Trump's Secret Service just because he's a convicted felon, weeks before the assassination. And then on top of that, on a larger scale, you have Kathy Griffin hold a severed head of Donald Trump. You got Snoop Dogg talking about shooting Donald Trump. We're not going to talk about the 8-9 years of just the Trump hate, fear mongering. That, along with this dilapidated Secret Service, half-ass Secret Service of Trump that they want to half-ass protect. What do you think was going to happen eventually? You know? And, you know, and then you got even that crazy liberal woman. I mean, she was like an actor on the Orange is the New Black show, calling for Biden to assassinate Trump. She called Uncle Tom. Called Clarence Thomas a coon, and I mentioned about how, we got a white lady calling a black guy a coon and calling for the president to assassinate a former president. But if it was a white lady, it was a straight white guy. It's an LGBT white lady, so she's protected class. She's referring to a black conservative, so that's okay to call him a coon. And then finally, we're not talking about assassinating Trump. We're not talking about assassinating Obama. We're talking about Biden assassinating Trump, so that's okay. You have years and years, 7-8 years of all this rhetoric. You factor that along with the years of decay of bureaucratic corruption of these government agencies, Secret Service included, and this is where we're at. So I want to kind of bring that perspective as far as the corruption and competence of these agencies, including the Secret Service, along with the 7-8 years of this Trump derangement syndrome fear mongering. And yeah, you're going to get these loonies calling for assassination. And guess what? You're going to get a few crazies who actually follow through on it. So the media wants to act shocked right now, just like they act shocked that Biden was oatmeal after the Trump debate. So now they're trying to act like this is shocking now. So I want to kind of bring that up, Conspiracy Brother. You go ahead if you want to add anything else on how we got here. This is how we got here. And if you're acting like shocked about it, you're probably stupid too. But Conspiracy Brother, you go ahead.
Well, there's a certain level of stupidity that I think is displayed by people when they get this emotionally invested in a president. Because in general, from year to year or president to president, I guess more accurately, nothing really changes.
Right.
With the overall trajectory of the country. Now, things do get different as far as prices of goods or things like that. But I mean, in general, the train keeps rolling forward. And so for people to want to be this angry at Donald Trump, that they would make these statements, record themselves saying them, or say them in public venues, is so strange to me, because how can you be that emotionally invested? Now, I say that acknowledging full well that I have the strongest dislike for Kamala Harris that you could have. But I still wouldn't try to do anything physically damaging to her.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's
We
a
got the
weird.
facts.
I would.
Well, that's the thing, conspiracy brother. We got the facts and truth on our side. I'm not calling for Biden to be a sad. I think he should get brought up on charges along with all the other presidents. Even Trump has some things he needs to get charged for. But yeah, we're not thinking Biden is some threat to democracy or Kamala is some threat we got to take out because we got facts and truth. But yeah, continue. It's a good point.
Well, yeah, it's just I wouldn't vote for her at all, but I wouldn't.
Right.
I wouldn't celebrate if something bad happened to her.
Right.
I would be happy to never have to see her or hear her voice again, but I wouldn't exchange, that peace of mind and existence with some dangerous happening to her. And so I just think we have to understand what is important, because a lot of young people nowadays, and a lot of people in general, they just say and do things recklessly with no thought to the consequences. And it's really weird, is the best way I can put it. It's weird. It's weird that she's managed to get this support. It's weird that people have been saying these things about a former president. It's weird in a general way. It's just a weird situation.
Yeah, for sure. And we got a lot more that we'll be updated about. But I'm just glad, like, hearing Uncomfy Truths. Once again, you're watching Uncomfy Truths. We stream on YouTube, Rumble, and Odyssey. This is where you come for the deep dive. This is where one of our group chat friends says, come sit down for the meal, eat the meat, and spit out the bones you don't like. So having these more mature conversations, we're not talking about what broke just yesterday. We're doing these twice a month. So it gives us a lot of time to really, if you will, let things marinate, get perspective, let all the details we need come in. So we're more of a proactive, retrospective type of solutions-based show, or like a big picture show, not like a reactive left versus right, whatever it is. So, all right. So next topic we got here is, once again, is a little bit old news now. We could touch on it a little bit. I think it still has some relevance, but I think it was it right after the Trump-Biden debate was a Supreme Court ruling on immunity. And basically, the cards are starting to fall. We had the Jack Smith case in Florida. Pretty much, that was pretty much the number one victim of, they got dismantled. Because the thing with Jack Smith, unlike other investigators, he was the first sort of puppet, if you will, who was installed, who had no prosecutorial history, no general counsel history, from what I believe, no local office position. I think he was some guy out in Europe that had a connection to some NGO or think tank, maybe conspiracy, but about a little bit more. But Jack Smith wasn't any sort of attorney general or prosecutor or any sort of general counsel. This guy literally just picked this dude up. Next thing you know, he just shows up and he's on that Florida case. The Florida case is kind of falling apart. Talking about, obviously, this ruling and its effect on the hush money case. I don't read it on MSNBC, but there's just been enough press about the Supreme Court ruling. But yeah, conspiracy brother, I'd like to get your thoughts on that. How do you think? My question is, how do you think that factored in? Because from what I believe, that happened right after that ruling was passed down. I think the Monday after the debate, the Monday after the Trump-Biden rematch debate. But then it was just a few days. It was the Monday before the Trump assassination attempt. So I think that was kind of where, okay, Democrats, Uniparty, establishment Republicans are freaking out. For whatever reason, it's just weird because you could tell the media just flipped on them. They were setting Biden up to fall, but I don't think they thought it would have the effect of helping Trump get way ahead as they thought it would. So they're freaking out about Trump surging ahead because Biden bombed the debate. And then you get the double whammy of that Monday ruling of him being protected by a certain level of presidential immunity, and the case is falling apart. So that, if you will, could have been one of the factors of this pressure cooker that led to certain people in high places going, okay, we need to put things in motion to, potentially take Trump out. But Conspiracy Brother, I'd like to get your thoughts on that. Do you think the presidential Supreme Court ruling, of presidential immunity, do you think that had a factor in whether it was Biden stepping down or whether that had to do with the Trump assassination attempt and it helping Trump and that freaking out the establishment to take more extreme measures?
Yeah, I do. I think it had a big part in it. I mean, when you look at the debates, I don't know what they really expected. I honestly think this whole thing was set up. And so I think
they Biden. We thought it was a setup for Trump. It was really a setup for Biden.
Yeah. I thought that because I knew they could not, sincerely believe that Trump was going to lose the debate. I mean, Biden really can't talk. And so, you really lose a debate when you can't talk because all you're doing is talking. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, you got nowhere to hide. Can't run.
So it's like, when you sit and you see the way they responded, I think I told you this before, and I said in the group that what they were trying to do was to say, oh, Trump's too old, Biden's too old, so that when they replace Biden with somebody younger, because you couldn't help but make somebody younger, if they put Nancy Pelosi up, she'd be younger. But when you replace Biden with somebody younger, then you won't be able to say anything about it besides, hey, this person's younger than Trump, because they don't have really anything to offer. And so you have exactly that happening, right? They're not talking about, they're trying to drown out all this cover. It's almost like love bombing Kamala Harris, right?
Yeah.
To try to make it like, people really like her or that she's got some kind of base of support when, as I said earlier, she had 1% of the black vote. Elizabeth Warren had 8%. So Elizabeth Warren had 8 times the black support as Kamala Harris. And they have you believe that somebody really likes her now.
It couldn't be more manufactured. Like, just the level of switch up. We sticking with Joe. Like, oh, this guy has 93 felonies, hush money case, sexual assault, and the Republicans are sticking by him. We're going to stick by with Joe. One debate, all in on Kamala.
Right.
So we'll just have to see what happens. I wanted to say what's very interesting is that for years, the leftists kind of had the grapple hold on SCOTUS, the notorious RBJ or whatever, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but she has her own sort of racist history. To me, she no better than Dianne Feinstein or even a Margaret Sanger in her own right, what she's done. But the left tops her as some grandmother of, liberal American values, but she has her own history if you look her up. But it's just funny how the left, once again, they get away or accuse everything. They accuse Republicans of everything they do, but, they could go around and show up at Brett Kavanaugh's house, threaten his family, do all this stuff. They hate it when they never get their way. And then as soon as SCOTUS, now rules, because they got more conservatives on the bench. They have to claim like it's just really scary how these left-leaning liberals now are now like they're like, I think there was that case, one of those states where they're like, well, we're looking into going around the Supreme Court's ruling on this presidential immunity. And, let's not even get into the whole trying to take Trump off the ballot last year. When the law doesn't move in their favor, they decide to switch the rules, bend the rules of breaking. And there's been all this sort of questioning. Like there's just articles, hit pieces that come out like the SCOTUS is out of control. The SCOTUS doesn't care about the Constitution just because they didn't rule in the way that the left wanted them to. So I think we need to be very careful and watch for that from the party that apparently, touts about democracy. And once again, the Republicans are almost no better either, especially the uniparty. But we just got to really keep an eye out. As much as I may not agree with certain Supreme Court decisions, I'm not going to up here and say, like, even if they ruled against Trump, that there's no presidential immunity for him. I'm not going to get up and go like, this SCOTUS is against the Constitution. How dare they? We need to work and manage a way around that. So when you see that sort of rhetoric coming from the left, who claims to be pro-democracy, that's a really big warning sign that we need to keep. I don't think enough people are talking about that, on how this left is trying to just undermine the Supreme Court. So I just want to let people know to keep their eyes on that, because I don't think that's being talked about. But that's all I got, Conspiracy Brother. Anything else on that?
Well, yeah, so one of the weird things, since you bring that up, the weird thing that happens is when somebody has moral authorities, that anything is excusable, so because the left believes that they have a moral authority, they believe that they can go to Brett Kavanaugh's house and protest.
Right.
They believe that they can punch people. They believe that anything is acceptable and they can say whatever. They can talk about assassinating a former president, whatever. They don't care. But if you should ever give them that same energy, then they'll act like, how could you? How dare you? You're the most evil person ever. And so it's a hypocrisy.
Yeah, they call it cry bullies. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's a hypocrisy because you should at least expect the same given out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's weird. I still consider myself a person who is, a mixture of different wings of political ideology. I have some conservative side perspectives, some liberal perspectives, but it seems like a lot of the things that they're trying to do is just so out of line and off base that it makes it difficult to want to form any kind of coalition with these people.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, good point. All right. Moving on. Next topic. Talked about this. I know we're in July. Well, we're about to leave July, so out of no more Pride Month, but we're hitting up August pretty soon. But this is very interesting. The Daily Mail, the left eating itself, basically. So I thought this was very interesting. This kind of goes into kind of more what I talked about. I mean, pro-Palestiners, why they're based on something for the first time in years, even though they've been kind of the enforcement arm of the pro-establishment liberals for years. They finally end up clashing with them on one thing, and now they're going after everybody. So, LGBTQ isn't immune. But Conspiracy Brothers, you want to go ahead and read this one? I think this is just very entertaining to kind of just show a further glance on, the left will eat its own. There's no intersectionality, and a hand that you fed is now about to bite you. They don't care about biting you, even if you've been feeding. So Yeah, conspiracy, bro. You want to
So-
read this from the Daily Mail?
Yeah, so moment pro-Palestinian or pro-Palestine protesters clash with Pride Parade, causing social media to erupt. Queers for Palestine had a change of heart. Let's see. I need you to zoom in just a bit.
Oh, all right. Is that better?
Okay, let's see. So it says free Palestine protesters clash with members of the LGBTQ community in Philadelphia who were attempting to kick off Pride Month Sunday with a parade. So this comes from June 2nd. So this is, almost a month old. But in one of many videos posted online documenting the incident, a wave of pride marchers in colorful outfits banging on drums were halted along the parade route by a group of pro-Palestinian members of the LGBTQ plus community. Some donning keffiyehs, others donning leather straps and vests. The pro-Palestinian crowd halted the parade route to scream and yell at members of their own community. One rainbow flag read, quote, no pride in genocide, end quote, the implication of which may have been that it is not appropriate to be celebrating Pride Month as normal while conflict in the Middle East still rages. The protest was executed by Queers for Palestine, a minority faction within the queer community who have been extremely vocal these last 8 months about the intersection of what they believe is the structural oppression of Palestinians and the historic prejudice faced by their community. So,
Oh, sorry.
that's cool.
All right.
Reports of the disrupted Philly parade include that the protesters were chanting, quote, the more you try to silence us, the louder we will be, end quote, in addition to the more standard, quote, from the river to the sea, end quote, phrases. One protest leader who wore a very short crop top, cargo pants that exposed the undergarments, and a keffiyeh said to the crowd, quote, pride as we know it cannot be separated from our... Why would they put the ad right in the middle of the article?
I don't know, man. They just ruthless.
Pride as we know it cannot be separated from our current political and economic climate. Pride celebrations have merely become a public relations instrument, end quote. I agree. A relatively common question hurled at the queer pro-Palestine protesters is why they so loudly voice support for a culture and people who reject their way of life entirely. LGBTQ people and sexual activity between men remain criminalized in Gaza. Observers of these protests, especially ones that have seemingly pitted various members of one community against one another, are always quick to question the logic of LGBTQ plus support for the Palestinian cause. Quote, I'd love to see them put on a pride parade in Gaza. Stunning cognitive dissonance, end quote. One ex-user responded to footage of the clash. You should march in Gaza, wrote another. And another said, quote, Queers for Palestine had a change of heart, end quote, followed by laughing faces. Conservative commentator Clay Travis broke down the situation by saying pro-Palestinian protesters blocking the Philly Pride Parade from continuing is a perfect distillation of left-wing politics. This is where it inevitably ends with two left-wing interest groups colliding in an oppression Olympics standoff. And
it's the end of it. The last part.
Meanwhile, as Pride Month kicked off in the Big Apple, the Israel parade was largely unaffected by pro-Palestinian protesters. Extra security was provided for the march up Fifth Avenue, though no specific or credible threats were made ahead of the annual parade. NYC Adams, who has been an unwavering voice of support for Israel since the outbreak of the war with Hamas on October 7th, attended the parade and said, quote, "Our message is extremely clear. Destroy Hamas, bring home the hostages. Let's bring peace so we don't lose lives of innocent people," end quote. He also noted that the loudest voices, meaning the pro-Palestinian demonstrators who have caused varying degrees of chaos across his city over the last 8 months, are not the majority. Most people, he said, support Israel and support the Jewish community. Oh, it is just, it's so terrible how much control the Israeli lobby and AIPAC has on the U.S. government. Yeah. It's weird that a mayor even makes these kinds of comments about supporting a foreign country, because mayors don't do anything with that as far as policy. But, too many coincidences together and it just starts to get a little fishy. So
yeah. And once again, like I said it before, pro-Palestine folks, I'm against the Gaza genocide. I mean, I don't think it's a genocide much anymore. I mean, I don't know what's even left of the Gaza Strip. It's funny how that's not really much in the news cycle now. But I don't know if there's really that much left. But at the same time, this is another classic example of the fake intersectionality that the Democrats try to tout. And we're all in this together. We all have the same views and there's not going to be any sort of clash, so it's funny just to kind of get them a taste of their own medicine. The LGBTQ versus the pro-Palestine crowd. And luckily I'm not one for violence or anything. I'm glad nobody got hurt or anything like that. Obviously it's just a very awkward collective of folks. But this is kind of like a larger view. It's just crazy to see how they can kind of hold two conflicting views at the same time on all different types of subjects. And when you even call out the hypocrisy, contradiction, you're called the bigot, you're called the racist, misogynist, or whatever it is. And it's just never a dull moment. It's just never a dull moment. So I wanted to kind of just at least talk about that, because that's just another one thing that kind of just bugs my brain. Speaking of which, what is the latest on the Gaza genocide while we're kind of on the subject? I mean, Conspiracy Brother, what's your, are there any Palestinians left? Is the whole Gaza Strip flattened? What's going on? What do you think as far as, what's the latest you've heard about it? Like any new updates?
Well, I've heard that, I think, who was that in Yemen? The Houthis attacked Israel's Iron Dome, which is like a missile system that's supposed to intercept missile things, and it landed in Syria, seems like, or something. So I have to still do a little more research, but it seems that the Houthis from Yemen have caught Israel off guard with some of their recent attacks. And it seems like the ICJ has determined that Netanyahu is a war criminal, and they want to arrest him for further questioning or something, investigation. But like I said, man, you have a group of people who make up about 1% of the global population and 1% of the population in this nation, controlling vast amounts of wealth, resources, industries, from Hollywood to now, from back in the day, to now. And it's just, like even Netanyahu just spoke at the Congress, and he said something about the protesters protesting him and saying, you know, I forget that they were being funded by Iran. And it's just so interesting that you have a person who's not from this country, who doesn't pay taxes here, essentially trying to chastise us because we have a First Amendment. You know, I really can't put into words how confused I am that people defend Israel as if it's a virtue.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it goes down to APAC. It goes down to, and I really like the point you mentioned about there should be no one with dual citizenship should serve in a government position, at least from the U.S. standpoint. Israel wants to do that, fine. But, and I think there was a video a while back on just dating back years on why Israel has a level of influence on the U.S. as it does, whether it's like the Mossad agency, whether it's Epstein that had ties to it. All we know is AIPAC isn't going anywhere. All right. And whether it's Donald Trump or Kamala Harris in the office, they both have a pro-Israel regime stance. They have to submit to the military-industrial complex, and they both have to submit to the intelligence agencies. They still have to submit to Big Pharma. So even when I talk to big pro-Trump MAGA people, at best, even though I'm probably voting Trump, at best with Trump, we're going to get a moderately decent presidency. Maybe a little less wild, or probably more wild than the first one. We're not going to get this giant regime change. The guy voted for the FBI to get a brand new building, up their funding. Trump still takes money from Pfizer. That hasn't announced the vaccine. It's not going to be this craziness. Well, the crazy thing about a Trump second term will be mainly the left just doing everything they can. They'll probably put the game table over by doing an EMP or a grid shutdown. They'll do some sort of new crisis to blame on Trump to get him out of office again. At best, I've said this before, if you vote for Trump, all you're going to get is a few common interest concessions, where right now the common interest for a lot of Black people is getting the border shut down, how it's affecting migrants in our neighborhoods, the taking of resources, space. And then we're going to get some, they'll go in there, tinkle with the Fed and bring down inflation and a lot of the things that Biden caused. But really beyond that, either party, Kamala or Trump, we're not getting reparations. We're not getting a lot of the military industrial war complex that can stop these forever wars. So if anything, just depending on who you are, Trump isn't a savior. Trump isn't saving you. Kamala isn't saving you. At best, you'll get a moderate presidency with Trump if they let him either way. So that's kind of my thoughts. And with that, either whether Trump or Kamala wins, you're still going to get the Israel regime that has both presidents on speed dial. And when they say jump, Kamala and Trump will say how high when it comes to that. So that's what we still got to remember about Israel. But I don't know, conspiracy brother, obviously I think Mossad and, they have ties to the highest people with Epstein and all that. But yeah, like I said, Israel's still going to be running things no matter who's president in November. But I wanted to kind of just reiterate that point. All right, y'all. We're going to move right along then, bro. We have a few articles. Once again, guys, you guys are watching Conspiracy Brother, Comfy Truths. So we stream bi-weekly on Sundays. You can catch us on Rumble, YouTube, or Odyssey. So make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. Trying to build our channel up, get more views. Or guess what? We might age like fine wine, where people might discover us 5-10 years from now. So we're not so worried about blowing up next week. But if my content can age well, and they'd be like, man, so and so called it. That's good with me, you know. So our next topic, actually, conspiracy brother, these were some articles regarding Greece to bring Egypt farm workers amid labor shortage, and then you also had these ESG kind of WEF articles, things with BP, like shady things going on with BP and kind of the climate agenda. So I wanted to get through these because we haven't gotten to these in over a month. So I would like to get your thoughts. You don't have to read the entire article because it's like 5 more articles that you originally posted about. But if you want to give us the general context and maybe read some of it, because I feel like this big picture stuff, the ESG, these bigger conglomerates and their role in the whole climate change agenda, the whole you'll own nothing and be happy, the WF, we still got to remember to keep our eyes out on those guys. We can't keep just getting distracted by the latest headline. We got to keep the big picture in mind because the globalists are betting on us to stay distracted on Kamala and Trump, and we're not thinking about the big picture. So, conspiracy brother, just want to set that up for you. And then we got 4 other of those articles you shared a little while back related to climate change, the ESG agenda. So, did you want to give us some context on this first article? You can maybe read part of it if you want.
Yeah, I kind of can't remember about this entirely. Just that Greece is bringing in Egyptian farm workers. A lot of these places here in the States or US, whatever you want to call it, America, they talk about how there's a shortage of workers. But the issue is that the jobs don't pay enough money for people to survive on, so they don't want to work them. And so you see this even in Greece, a place where they don't really have a lot. They don't produce a lot of anything. They don't export a lot of anything that I'm aware of. They don't have a major industry. I think the biggest industry is tourism or shipping, one of the two. But they're still trying to import workers because they can't get people to do some of the more, or I guess some of the less paying jobs. So I can't remember exactly everything similar to what I just said. So I can start reading. You want to zoom in a bit?
Yeah.
Okay, Athens, May 10th. So Greece will start bringing in workers from Egypt this summer to take on temporary farming under a deal between the countries to tackle a labor shortage, the migration ministry said on Friday. After a decade of pain, the Greek economy is forecast to grow nearly 3%, far outpacing the Eurozone average of 0.8%. And on average, everybody wants 2%. So, but an exodus of workers during Greece's economic crisis, a shrinking population, and strict migration rules have left the country struggling to find tens of thousands of workers to fill vacancies in farming, tourism, construction, and other sectors. Greece will take in around 5,000 seasonal farm workers under the 2022 deal signed with Egypt. The countries have discussed expanding the quote mutually beneficial end quote scheme to the Greek construction and tourism sectors, the Greek migration ministry said in a statement. Migration is a long and divisive issue in Europe, but the plan had won broad support from employers groups keen to find workers. Greek migration minister Dimitris Kyridis met Egyptian labor minister Hassan Shehata in Cairo this week and said the country should also step up cooperation to fend off illegal migration flows to the region. Egyptian officials have said their country deserves.
Oh, sorry.
Let's see, you got.
know how this drop down happened. Okay, already did now. See it down?
Yeah. Let's see. Falarge stopping migration setting off from its northern coast across the Mediterranean in Europe in 2016. The European Union this year announced a multi-billion euro funding package and an upgraded relationship with Egypt, part of a push to cut down on the number of migrants crossing over from North Africa. Rights groups have criticized Western support for Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, who came to power a decade ago after leading the overthrow of Egypt's first democratically elected leader. And so this is another thing you see, just for comparison. You know, they would say, oh, Russia has done whatever in Ukraine, or they've propped up border regions in the Donbass, and that is not acceptable. We should not be doing that, whatever. And the situation really is that when the U.S. sees fit to interfere in other countries' elections or their processes, they'll do that. And they have no problem doing that. And when it doesn't benefit the U.S., then they'll complain and try to raise hell and say, you know, that things aren't okay. But the U.S. considers Egypt an ally, and they consider their president an ally, even though he overthrew a democratically elected president.
And we're seeing more and more is like it's still kind of like the U.S. imperialism playbook: go in, fund an insurgent or rebellion group, to topple the government, topple the current administration, and then that and the open borders sort of agenda. They're bringing in what they call dreamers and newcomers into a foreign country for either like what they'll use to cover story labor shortage, or, you know, we're doing this because these are jobs people don't want, or we got to cover, you know, government, you know, or these corporations want to save money on, you know, labor or whatever it is. But it's the playbook. And once again, I still got a lot of problems with this new VP pick, JD Vance, but I got to give the man credit. As much as people may say, oh, he's a plan, he's kind of like an establishment plan or whatever, he called out very well during his RNC address. I'm trying to look up what he said exactly. He said, neoliberalism or neocons, kind of the same, it's two of the same mutation. It's like this three-legged stool. And what neoliberalism / neoconservatism is, this bipartisan project from post-World War II. So even Tucker called it out on the Joe Rogan. So ever since we dropped the atom bomb, we're now God. We now, since World War II, have been pursuing an imperialism industrial complex. But the neoliberalism, neoconservative order has a three-legged stool. It stems from, number one, reckless and adventurous foreign wars. Number two, unlimited mass migration. Number three, unfettered trade with foreign companies at the expense of the homeland. So some problems I'm going to have with JD Vance, and like I mentioned with Trump, but he said the quiet part out loud when he mentioned that. On those three-legged stools of neoliberalism, it's linked to it's a cousin of the globalist order. So this, I feel, is kind of like they're backdooring it to Greece, because every other country in Europe, they're just getting flooded with mass migration. That's why you got the far right pushback with the recent elections. And I just see this as another sad, kind of slow moving example. Am I on to some conspiracy, brother? Is that, you know, are we getting globalist WEF open border vibes from this? Maybe it's just me. You know?
Well, no, I think we are. I think JD Vance talks a good game, but I think he's just bought by the same people as anybody else, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah. Giving out the quiet part. But yeah, all right. So so next article we got here, just so we kind of keep on that theme as we wrap up. Let's see here. This comes from LinkedIn, actually a LinkedIn Pulse article. This is once again these last remaining 4 conspiracy brother are yours. So we don't have to like read like every single article, but we can kind of maybe jog your memory of the subject. But this one is your ESG, your carbon footprint. Oh, they got rid of it, but it said like understanding your carbon footprint with 3 easy keys. So I think that was kind of just more of a propaganda WEF type, think piece from like LinkedIn Pulse. But apparently that article's not around anymore, as you guys can see. Probably expired or got archived somewhere. This next one's from BP. So, Conspiracy Brother, you might remember this one. We are advocating for zero net policies in your car, pricing in the U.S. for BP. So, still got a video here. Think we should watch the video, or do you want to give us some context, Conspiracy Brother?
I can't really remember. I think it has something to do with him trying to increase prices on goods as a form of a carbon tax, like to try to essentially will punish average Americans for doing things, and it'll limit what you can do and stuff. But let's watch the video because I can't remember.
Yeah, let's see what the video says. All right, hold on. He looks very informed.
I'm Drew Fitzgibbon, I'm a state representative from Washington's 34th legislative district. Voters in my district did not feel the climate crisis was being taken seriously by state government and national government. Over the last few years, the impacts of climate change have become only more and more real for us here in Washington. My name is Tom Wolf. I'm Senior Government Affairs Manager for BP America on the U.S. West Coast. The Cherry Point Refinery is the largest refinery in Washington State. It's 50 years old this year. When I was first elected, climate change was kind of a lonely issue, but I knew that the longer that we delayed, the more expensive it was going to be to make the transition to a clean energy economy. I didn't think when I started working on climate change that BP was going to be a partner when we crossed the finish line with a bill like the Climate Commitment. And that's where I think Tom and I found ourselves on the same side of this fight. In February of 2020, our CEO, Bernard Looney, announced that the company's going to go net zero by 2050 or sooner. Now, every decision you make is through that lens. The Climate Commitment is Washington's law to ensure that we reduce our greenhouse gas emissions to reach zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. It's groundbreaking because it's the second statewide, county-wide price on carbon in the country. Places a firm legal cap on Washington's emissions, lowers that cap.
All right, Conspiracy Brother, anything we need to call out BS on? Well, I can finish the video, but I already got a lot I want to say. But anything you want to? Oh man,
No, I'll let you go.
I'm just like, it's kind of like it's almost like the fox that got in the hen house is now hired foxes that are going to investigate what happened in the hen house. Same thing as the FBI, DOJ investigated the Trump assassination. Now you mean to tell me these oil and gas companies were, once again, I mean, I get it, there's a level of unregulated capitalism that isn't healthy, that's, fighting against the worker and the labor unions. At the same time, I don't think trying to put everybody into electric vehicle, trying to get rid of carbon, and once again, we breathe carbon. Plants need carbon or give off carbon. So the fact that carbon is somehow this dangerous thing we need to get rid of is just so counterintuitive. I find it even weird that this oil company, which once again, oil and coal's their bread and butter, but now they're trying to jump on this green train, like, hey, we're really not that bad. Maybe they're just saying the right things. They're still putting out the oil and gas, which I'll take over the green energy. But it's just, I don't know. I'm getting WEF tentacles in here. The whole green mandate by 2030, well, 2050, what they were saying. because they were touting 2030. Now they knew they had to kind of dial it back. But I just feel like there's a very sinister melding here of private and public partnership interests. That's kind of what Klaus Schwab would always tout. This globalism is like, hey, the partnership of private and public sectors, and this leads to conglomerates, this leads to oligarchies, this leads to fascism, really. These different blobs of institutions get together like this, and I don't trust them. BP trying to look all green, and then you got the greenies trying to look all like bipartisan. I don't trust it. So that's my take. We can watch the rest, Conspiracy Brother, but do you have any thoughts? Am I on to something? Am I paranoid?
Yeah, I mean, to me, all these guys, they like Mark Zuckerberg, they all look like androids, and I think, we'd be wise to be wary of whatever they're trying to do whenever they're trying to tell us anything, because they're all just weirdos. So I think, being mindful of that is important.
Yes, sir. All right, let's watch the rest of this. What these bozos got to say.
Places a firm legal cap on Washington's emissions, lowers that cap aggressively over time. It requires the emitters of the most greenhouse gases in the state to acquire allowances for the pollution and climate change. A lot of members of the table from a lot of different points of view. And so for us, it was BP, Microsoft, trying to came to the table, the Environmental Defense Fund, Climate Solutions, the Nature Conservancy. You need that kind of diverse table inside something like this. Having those partnerships across sectoral lines, feeling that it was a little bit different this year. People think there's this choice about choosing for business or choosing for the environment. And I work for a company that doesn't believe in that choice. You can work for the environment and work for the economy. The challenge ahead of us is to find the ways to do that to get to a net zero economy, not just for BP, but globally by 2050 or sooner. I hear a lot of companies make just promises about to climate change, to clean energy. It's not every company that makes a promise like that actually shows up and helps get those laws passed.
Yeah, I'm not buying what you're selling, but I respect the business side of, gotta get the bag, but yeah, we'll leave that there. All right, so this is the second to the last article that you shared a little while back, Conspiracy Brother. Once again, a lot of these greeny WEF types, self-sustainability, a guide to achieving your ESG objectives. So I'll read part of this. Sustainability is the new digital. Sustainability, the new normal. The Green Deal is just beginning. The United Nations, which have become pretty radical. I think there was that thing a while back where they advocated for minor attracted people, or saying like people can identify as a different age. The United Nations definitely have some like pro-pedophilia initiatives, and they've been bad news for a while. Paris Accords or whatever, that agreement wasn't really something that's more so of a grift, because it's kind of like a lot of the people in the green energy movement, the WEF, a lot of it is just the fact that they can't make the type of money that the oil and gas industry can, because they're not in it. They don't have a monopoly on it. So they're really just trying to start their own green energy monopoly that they more so capitalize on, versus just, we're just here to help the environment. You're going to make money off those carbon zero tax. You're going to make money off of those electronic vehicles. You're going to make money off of all these initiatives and things that continuously eat away at our freedoms and give you guys more power and control. So this is very interesting. I'm not going to read all this BS, but Conspiracy Brother, I can see why you picked it. Definitely, it's just sort of how there's the DEI doctrine. There's a high priestess of DEI. There's a high priestess of energy climate change. There's a high priestess doctrine of being pro-Palestine. This is sort of right in there. This is just this is the holy scrolls of the green climate agenda. And this kind of goes to show what I talked about. I'm not trying to bash anybody for not being Christian or religious, but everybody, like it or not, they have a God-shaped hole. And if you don't fill it in with your morals, religion, or any sort of, values you believe in, you'll fill it in with someone else. When people don't believe in God or whatever religion, they're going to fill it in with worshiping the earth, climate, the environment. They're going to put it into worshiping their skin color alone. That's where it leads to racial idolatry, where you can't determine Kamala Harris from an actual Black person who's actually for you or from your community, or you'll worship, once again, the pro-Palestine and all that. So this is kind of just ongoing propaganda, in my opinion, conspiracy brother, where the high priest, which is like Klaus Schwab or, one other green influencer, or high priestess maybe like a Greta Thunberg, where this is more that ESG doctrine for you to buy in or submit to the green energy cult. Where once again, if people want to have a solar grids, if people want to have an electric car, they have the freedom of this country to do so. I'm not telling you can't have it. I'm saying you can't force it on everybody else by a mandate. That's my beef. But conspiracy brother wanted to talk on this. That's just my thoughts.
It's simply impossible for them to try to achieve whatever goals they claim they're trying to achieve. We don't have an infrastructure for it or anything. And so, when you really get down and look at it, it's more likely an instrument of control because you are limited in how far you can take electric vehicles and all kind of other things. If they can digitize things, they can make sure that you only do what they want you to do because they can turn it off otherwise. So I don't think there's any altruism in any of this stuff. I think these are all power plays by people in charge to make you, and I mean you in general, not you specifically, to make you think, to make you feel like you're doing something for the planet or whatever. Like I've said this before to friends of mine and stuff, because, you have these people who are really for the environment, yet they don't protest private jets or the military having thousands of bases all around the globe, right, using money, burning. Like what happened in the Middle East when they burnt those tanks and things in burn pits, which is what caused Joe Biden's son to lose his life. Right? You have these people believing that they're actually making the difference, or that it is possible within the system that we have to make a difference. And it's not, it's just a power play. So
big facts. All right, y'all. Once again, you're watching Uncomfy Truths, currently streamed on YouTube, Rumble, and Odyssey. So make sure to definitely hit that like button on our videos, subscribe. You're not going to get deep dive conversations like this anywhere else. I'm going to go on my little sales pitch here, because you get from most people, especially us coming from a Black perspective, we don't identify as just Black. We have identity beyond that, but at the same time, we are a pro-Black show. We're not just surface level Democrat Black views, but you're going to get the deep dive, bigger level conversations. Yeah, it may take you a while to listen to. You know what? Throw our video on while you're taking a drive or working on stuff around the house, because you're not going to get deep dive game anywhere else. You're going to get reactive. Whatever's in the news, you need to react to be appalled at and make you feel one way or another. It's not, we're not trying to convince you here. It's just the uncomfy truth. It's just the facts. Whether you're on the right or the left, we're probably going to piss you off, and we don't care. But that's just my pitch. If you want to get the deep dive game, you need to subscribe to Uncomfy Truths with myself, Conservative Brother Daily, and Conspiracy Brother, because you won't get deep dives like this anywhere else. Yeah, the views may be low. It may be very long videos, but I guarantee you, we like to take our time and cook. And I'm pretty sure our views are going to age like fine wine. All right, so I don't need to have 2 million views spewing out some propaganda when clearly we can cook and give the people what they really need to hear, not what they want to hear. So yeah, I apologize, Conspiracy Brother. I know you got to dip out. This is going to be our last article. This was the last ESG article. We don't have to read out, but this comes from Canada. Once again, how carbon pricing works. And, obviously there's just a little bit more of the same, how they're kind of taking these carbon rebates. And even people like Robert Kiyosaki, the rich dad, poor dad, are talking about, yeah, I'm going to get really rich off this stuff. These greenies think they're trying to fight the establishment of the business people, but I'm going to take advantage of this carbon. Even though I don't believe this green energy BS, I'm going to apply these carbon credits toward my company. So this is just kind of more of the same. You see Canada trying to get in on the grift. But yeah, other than that, it's just more of the same. And Canada with Trudeau, I mean, I go to Russia before I go to Canada, some cases. But that's all I got, Conspiracy Brother. Anything you want to add before we wrap the show up?
No, Robert Kiyosaki really kind of summed up the situation. It's going to be an opportunity for rich people to buy their way out of this stuff. And poor people are going to have to ration off when they drive certain places and how far and how long and whatever. This is a dystopia. This is the frame, like they talk about the banality of evil. This is an representation of that. This is a manifestation of that. Because you'll have this mundane policy that seems like it's intent to help something, and it's not. It's going to destroy the freedom of the average American to go and do things because they won't be able to.
You will own nothing and be happy. Right. The rich will keep getting richer as you get poorer, but you're simultaneously getting propagandized, and you're pretty much being the useful idiot to push the very agenda that will oppress you. So we cook here. Voting, we're not voting our way out of this. So that's a topic for another day, but we will continue to hit on that. So guys, thank you once again for tuning in to Uncomfy Truths. I'm Conservative Brother Daily, Conspiracy Brother. We're about to get going, but once again, follow us on YouTube, Rumble, and Odyssey. If you want to get the real, we don't talk the talking points. You ain't getting the left or right wing talking points. We piss everybody off. But we will see you guys back maybe in about 2 to 3 weeks. I got to talk to Conspiracy Brother. Might have a conflict in about 2 weeks, so we had to push it off a third week. But we'll be back when we usually are, at least twice a month. And who knows what's going to happen. But a crazy July, Trump assassination, Biden stepped down, Kamala's in, SCOTUS ruling, presidential immunity. So I don't know. I guess my last question, Conspiracy Brother. I know I'm running over. But do you have any predictions over the next few weeks, or is it just like, hey, we're just gonna see what happens?
Yeah, I think they're gonna end up replacing Kamala because she doesn't have the support. Yeah, I really think that.
But they just raised $200 million, and
but you don't know where that money comes from. There's you don't know where that money came from.
Don't kind of.
Because there's no way she's got all these backdoor groups. You know what I'm saying? But they've had Act Blue has done some shady stuff in the past with how they raise funds. Remember, James O'Keefe went to that guy's house. It was like an older white guy.
Yeah,
and he was like, did you make 31,000 individual donations to Act Blue? And so that's the thing, because it's all on the computer, it's real shady stuff. And they're, we had 80,000 black women donated $1 million. Like, no, you didn't. No, you
Right,
didn't.
and then they even did a paper trail from the Federal Election Commission showing that the Trump shooter, had donated to Act Blue. So I'm not saying that the donation was legit, but yeah, there's a lot of shady
Yeah, that's
stuff.
what I'm saying.
Yeah. So okay, so you heard it first about conspiracy, brother. Kamala might not be as permanent after all. Don't leave Gavin Newsom or Michelle Obama off the table. Anything can happen. I called the shit back in March to let people know. But we will see what happens. All right, we'll catch you guys next time on Uncomfy Truths.
All right, peace.